Okay. Om Jnanat Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So we're continuing our study, Bhagavad-Gita, chapter 6, verse 29 through 32. We just want to finish up the last passage which we began on Monday. So, in that passage, Krishna was describing the accomplishment of samadhi. So the goal of yoga system is samadhi, which technically means to stop all the vrittis in the mind. Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. If you can stop all the vrittis in the mind, then you can be fixed in your own self. Tada drashtum swarupe avasthana. This means that one can be standing in the vision of one's own self, one's own swarup. And if you don't stop the vrittis, then you'll be absorbed in your vrittis. Those are the two broad options. Option number one, stop the vrittis and be absorbed in your actual constitutional position as an Atman, different from matter. Or number two, absorbed in your vrittis. Whatever's going on inside the head, all the thoughts and so on. Those are the two options. So if you're absorbed in the vrittis, you'll not be happy. So if you need any evidence of that, you need only look at your mind now. You're not happy, isn't it? You're a happy person. You can say honestly. So no one is happy in this world because the vrittis will not allow you to be happy. There's one nice verse from the Bhagavatam that I like a lot. Kutra shisha shruti sukha migrachishni rupa. It's a very nice verse. Prahlad Maharaj, he was a boy king. And he says, where is happiness in this world? Shruti sukha. He says the happiness is in hearing about it. But the actual experience, migrachishni rupa. The actual experience is like a mirage in the desert. So when you hear about some happiness, then your mind starts speculating what it's going to be like, isn't it? You hear about and nowadays you hear about some club, or you hear about some person, you hear about some movie, you hear about something that you think will be enjoyable. Then the mind starts speculating, wow, I'm going to enjoy it this way, that way, that way. You start speculating like this. But then when you actually go to the actual thing itself, you don't get happiness, you get frustration, anxiety, misery. Some reversal happens, something is taking place. So Prahlad Maharaj is saying that where is happiness in this world? He says simply in hearing about it, and then the imagination is coming. That's where all the happiness is happening. But the actual experience is filled with so much fault and is not happy. So this is like this. If you're absorbing the vrittis, they will keep fluctuating like this. There will only be the promise of happiness. There won't be any actual happiness. But if you can stop these vrittis and be situated in your own self, then you can experience that happiness intrinsic to the self. And that happiness is very nice, and it's eternal. And so Krishna has mentioned this point here. In the last passage that we were reading up to verse number 28, we read. So he's experiencing the happiness that comes from Brahma Samsparsham, from touching Brahman, from actually having a vision of spiritual thing. You can close the door. Can you close the door, please? Sorry, some distraction is coming. The happiness that comes from actually touching spirit or realizing God. So now a few verses wants to describe what the vision is like of such a realized individual called as Jiva Mukta. So in verse 29, Krishna says, Sarvabhutastam Atmanam Sarvabhutani Chatmani Ikshate Yoga Yuktatma Sarvatra Samadarshana. So Sarvabhuta now means that he sees his reality situated in everything. Wherever he goes, he sees that truth there, that the truly abiding reality is existing there. Sarvabhutani Chatmani. And he sees everything is also existing in that reality. Right? So that reality is existing everywhere. It's ubiquitous or all-pervading. And everything is also existing inside that reality. Ikshate Yoga Yuktatma. Yoga Yuktatma here means one who who has attained samadhi. Then ikshate, he sees in this way. Sarvatra samardarshana. Everywhere he is having the same vision because he only sees one thing. He sees that reality. So this reality can be called Brahman. Some of our acharyas are also saying this means he sees Paramatma or God present everywhere. And the next few verses kind of indicate why our acharya is giving that explanation. But wherever he goes, he's having the same vision everywhere. You do not have the same vision everywhere, wherever you go, isn't it? For example, well, I'll give my own example. For example, when I'm in this area, I see a certain demographic, I feel safe. I go to another area and I see a different demographic, I don't feel safe. I don't have the same vision everywhere. If someone invites me, I'm from Chicago, so Chicago is very infamous for all the shooting that goes on and so on. So my friend invites me, you want to go to a party? I'm like, yeah, let's go. He says on the south side. I said, all right, I'll be here only. The south side of Chicago is a particularly dangerous area in Chicago. I do not have the same vision wherever I go. Once, some Christian boys, they had come to the Chicago temple, and they were saying like this, God is existing everywhere. So they also were quoting Bhagavad-Gita, Sarvabhutastam Atmanam Sarvabhutani Chatmani. God is existing everywhere. So I asked them, I said, this is a true statement you say. So God is equally present in the brothel as he is in the temple, as he is in the movie theater that is playing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That detail is somehow I remember that movie. That movie had just come out this time when these Christians had asked me. A new version of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles had just come out. And many of them had saw it. They had explained to me that time. So God is equally present everywhere. So how come, I said, does anyone go to the brothel to realize God? Who goes there? God is also equally present there. So why you don't go to the brothel to realize God? I mean, you may go to the brothel, but not to realize God. Because you don't have that vision. So we do not see everywhere. So for us, there are temples for helping to focus awareness on spiritual. Some temple or some place of spiritual practice. I was going to say some yoga studio, but that's being a little bit generous, especially in New York. But some sacred places given to help focus consciousness on ultimate truth, on God, ultimately. Because we don't have equal vision. So depending on the environment, our consciousness will go in a particular direction. If you go to Bali is some nice place for enjoyment, you forget God immediately. But if you go to a temple, you remember God, isn't it? Just like as soon as you go home, you forget God. Isn't it? Because home is not a place that you remember God. It should be, but unfortunately, where we may be at right now, when you go home, you do not remember spiritual things. Or you start off remembering spiritual things and then gradually goes into Netflix and YouTube, and then you forget about God. So because we don't have equal vision everywhere, there are places meant to help focus awareness on that ultimate truth. But for this realized person, wherever he goes, he's seeing that truth is existing there. And he sees everyone is existing inside that truth also. Just like if you see some nice saintly person, then you feel very inspired. You know, if you see like some Mahatma Gandhi, let's say, suppose you got a chance to meet personalities from the past and you see Mahatma Gandhi. So as devotees, we frown our face, well, who is this Gandhi? Because of how we heard it ISKCON. But before we were devotees, we would have been very excited to see Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr. But if you see Hitler, would you be happy? Would you be happy? Somehow you see Martin Luther King, he is existing inside God, but this Hitler is not existing. And therefore you treat him differently. But actually, if you have a realized vision, you see Martin Luther King is situated in God, and this Hitler is also situated in God. So your vision becomes equal like this. This is Sarvatra Samadarshana. That is the vision. So you can get I myself don't know. I'm trying to give an approximation of what the experience might be like. Everywhere you're just seeing that one reality. Therefore, no disturbance is coming to your mind. Disturbance is positive and negative, right? Sometimes you're positively disturbed, just like when a beautiful object of sense gratification walks in the room and walks near you, you get disturbed. Similarly, when a bad smell is near, you also get disturbed. So the disturbance is positive and negative. But for this person, no disturbance there because he only seeing this reality. It's amazing. And the next verse, 630, one of my favorite verses. Well, it was my favorite verse when I first came. The first month I came, a very famous verse. Yomam pashati sarvatra sarvam shamai pashati. Tasyaham na pranashami, sache me na pranashati. For one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. Yomam pashati sarvatra. So wherever he goes, he is seeing. Now Krishna says he is seeing me. And the previous verse, it was a little bit vague. One who sees that reality. Brahma sparsha, it kind of could refer to Brahman. And some of our acharyas said this reality also refers to Brahman, but Krishna says me, one who sees me everywhere. Sarvam shamai pashati, and sees everything in me. Then I am never lost to him, nor is he ever lost to me. Because wherever he goes, he sees that truth. So that means Krishna is always standing in front of him, or that reality is always standing in front of him wherever he goes. So that means he is always seeing that reality, and that reality is always seeing him. So he is never lost to that reality, and that reality is never lost to him. This rendering, of course, this verse has a very devotional element to it, obviously. It's like when Krishna, in Krishna's stories, so there's his pastime with the gopis. There is the eternal associates of Krishna as the most exalted devotion, the gopis. So when Krishna disappeared from the Rasa Stali, the place where the Rasa dance was taking place, so they started asking all the trees and the flowers and the rivers and everything, have you seen Krishna? Have you seen Krishna like this? Wherever they go, wherever they went, they were having, well, not exactly awareness of Krishna per se, but they were in that same consciousness wherever they went. So they, have you seen Krishna? Have you seen Krishna? Have you seen Krishna? And Krishna was also seeing them in this state. So, yeah, this is for the one who develops his consciousness. Everywhere you go, you see this truth. This is the next verse. There are very similar verses. Sarva bhuta sitam yo mam bhajate katvam asita. Sarvata vartamanopi sa yogi mai vartate. So sarva bhuta sitam yo mam. So seeing me situated in all beings, Yomam bhajati ekotvam astita, seeing the oneness, seeing this reality of oneness, ekotvam astita, situated in the vision of oneness. Again, same point, because right now, in contradistinction, we are not situated in the vision of oneness. That is actually what gets us into so much trouble. And the main trouble is making differentiation in terms of material calculation and getting caught by that. Getting caught by the material energy to fix your mind on those differences. That is the trick of Maya. That's one reason why this politics is so dangerous for spiritual culture. Because the whole culture of politics is to make distinctions between friend and enemy. And it's very alluring, so you fix your consciousness on those distinctions. And then you don't actually think of the reality beyond that. And then you die like that. And so because you die thinking of differences, you have to take another birth. This is why it's so dangerous. So, but for one who is ekatvam asita, they're fixed in the vision of oneness. It's very hard to even imagine what that's like experientially, because we're just so situated in duality that it's very hard to even imagine being situated in the vision of non-duality. And they worship Yomam Bhajati. They worship that reality that is situated in all beings. Then Sarvatar Vartamano Pisa Yogi Mai Vartate. This, the way Prabhupada translates this, they remain always in me in all circumstances. And the way the other commentators comment about this, that whatever worship they're doing, whether they follow rules or they don't follow rules, they're actually situated in God. Because that's the only reality that they see. This is very hard to understand when you're a practitioner, because practitioner means they have to give due respect to the various rules and regulations of the world and of spiritual practices and sadhana. But for a person who's having such a vision, they may not be fixed in such rules and regulations and practices. There's so many stories in Bhakti tradition of such personalities. like Hamsi Das Babaji. I don't know his stories so much, but I know I think one of his stories he was famous for maybe smoking like a hookah, right? Which I don't even know what that is. Basically like, huh?
The smoke goes through water.
A water pipe.
From the bowl down through the water. And then
it's like an intoxicant where like, it's almost like what they call it, like a bong.
Yeah.
Who here smokes marijuana? It's like a bong. So you say, oh, this is against the rules. This is not spiritual. So how he is doing like this, so you make some judgment. But he is always situated in one consciousness. So no matter what he's doing, he's only seeing that reality. This explanation is given. I think another time he was also worshiping deities, just like we have deities. So you see how we treat the deities very reverentially. So he was having deities, and one time he bought some boga for the deities. And then he told the deities to watch the boga while he go and get something. So he asked the deities to watch the boga. I'll go and get. He came back and the boga was gone. So he said, "Where is the boga? I asked you to watch it." So then he took the deities and put them outside for punishment. And he closed the door and said, "Now I punish you for doing like this." So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, he told his disciples to not associate with this personality. But he accepted him as Paramahamsa, as a great exalted devotee. But he told his disciples, don't go and associate with him, because if you associate, you will find fault. You say, how you can treat the deities like this? There's another story. This is not exactly related, but it's just coming to me. Lord Chaitanya's pastime. Lord Chaitanya's servants, they used to offer him some cloth that was a little like starchy, not like proper quality cloth. So one of Lord Chaitanya's great devotees, his name was Pundarik Vidyanidhi. He criticized the devotees for offering this improper cloth to the Lord. I think he tried to maybe also change it or something. So after making the criticism, he went to sleep at night, and Jagannath came and started. Jagannath and Baladev came, deities. They came and started beating him on his face, slapping him for making this suggestion. And when he woke up in the morning, his cheeks were all swollen from getting beat up like this in the nighttime. So they said, don't criticize our devotees. Whatever they are offering to me is perfect. Anyway, not exactly, it's related. Maybe not a perfect fit. But the idea is that whatever they're doing, they're situated in that consciousness. So they're beyond the rules and regulations of even scriptures. There's a very nice verse that relates to this from the Bhagavatam. Atmaramashtamunayo negranta api urukame. Atmarama means a self-satisfied person, one who has realized the reality. So they're described as nirgranta. The word granta means book. And the word granta also means knot. Because in Vedic culture, there are many knots are there. The knot in your sika is there. The knot in your dhoti is there to keep you from falling. And then you get married, that's another type of knot. And you have relationships. These are all different knots. So the Atmarama person is called Nirgranta. He is without knots. Like Shukadeva Goswami, hair was scattered, no clothes. That is another knot. Maybe you don't want to wear clothes also. I know many people like to do like this. But you have to, otherwise you will be arrested. So there are so many knots in this world, and the stipulations are usually put into some books also. But the Abharama is nirgranta. He's without these knots. So there are no consequences for doing anything in this world, even immoral. Of course, they're not inclined to immorality because they're beyond vice and virtue. But even if they happen to do something that is considered a transgression of some sort of moral etiquette, there is no consequence for doing so because they're already situated in one division of oneness. So not to be imitated, of course, you may quote this verse and say like that, I am Nirgranta, and then you will be arrested and taken to jail, and you can be Nirgranta there. Huh? Bad idea. Yeah, this is not a good idea. So the last verse of this passage is an important one. Atmo pamyena sarvatra samam pashatiyo arjuna sukam ba yadiva dukam sa yogi paramamata. So who is the greatest yogi? Someone who does handstand. This is what impresses people today. the Instagram. I see these Instagram people who do like handstands. They're very good at asana. Like they do extraordinary asana things.
Standing on their hands with their feet.
So many, very, very impressive things. They have like 200,000 followers or so many followers just because they could do that. And then they have sound bowls. And they do videos just going like this. They have so many followers. It's incredible. So, and people take them to be great, great yogis. But Krishna says, Sa yogi paramo mata. Who is the greatest yogi? So here he says, Atmo pamyana sarvatra samam pashati yo Arjuna. So one who is able to see equally all souls by reference to his own self, sukam vayadivadukam, both in their happiness and distress, I consider this person to be the highest yogi. That means he sees what is good and bad for himself as good and bad for all others. He has that vision of equality. Or said it another way, Kapila Dev uses this language. He does not make a distinction between his belly and the belly of others. Which, for me, that language is very triggering because I've often mentioned being in the city, when you see so many homeless people are everywhere, and they're begging. And the tendency is to just be cold because also you don't know if they're begging for drugs. That's what you like to tell yourself. But many times they're asking just for foodstuffs and so on. And you will say no, like, no, you just ignore them. It's not even a problem for you to ignore. But then you'll go into a shop and spend like, $8, $9 on like a chai and come right out the store and walk right past that fellow and not think anything of it. But you're not prepared to give even a few cents to this person also. Then you'll tell her, well, he may use it for drugs. That's true, but he might use it to get some food also. That's also possible. So, why is this? Because we make a distinction between our belly and the belly of others. If we are hungry, we take very seriously. If others are hungry, we are peaceful. Because that duality is there. So here Krishna is saying that the highest yogi is the one who, by reference to his own self, he understands the happiness and distress of others. And therefore he's able to empathize with that and he wants to do something for them. So that is from technically speaking, from verse 10 to this verse 32, is Krishna summarizing the whole yoga system. So Arjuna has some doubts about that, which he's going to bring up. Do you want to ask him or make some comment?
I really appreciate the point you're making. So just the other day, I was on 6th Avenue and I saw a homeless man, or a beggar. And I was walking by with the same, it's okay because he might be taking drugs when I give him money. So, but I felt so bad. I came back and I said, look, there's a place across the street. You're hungry, I'll take you across there and I'll get you some food. I said, but I'm not going to buy you any meat. He said, oh, it's got to be meat. I got to have meat. Yeah. I said, I can't help you. Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
So it's really tough, is what I'm saying.
Yes. Yeah, there's definitely it's very challenging how to apply all these things. But here it's not so much an application, it's a vision. So it's one thing that maybe we can't do that because that compromises our principles. But what is our vision? That is the question. You take issues related to your body very seriously. And those same issues when related to the bodies of others, you do not care. That is what is being mentioned here, the distinction. So how do you apply all these things? That is so circumstantial. So it is, and then that's when these nuances come up. But the question that's being brought up is, what is your vision? That is what is being brought up. What is your vision? Okay? You understand everything? Any question?
You're almost finished.
Whoa, what?
Congratulations.
Okay, I'll do a couple more verses here. So the next section comes up. Arjuna is doubting about this yoga system because this level of equality is very hard to maintain. You can resonate with this actually. He says here, Yo yam yoga swaya prokta samyena Madhusudana. So, Madhusudana, generally speaking, this system of yoga that you have spoken of, etasyaham na prashyami Chanchala twastitam stiram. I do not see how someone can remain steady in this practice. Why? Because the mind is chantala twat. It is fickle. It is too fickle. So this yoga system actually requires of us to be completely equal in mind at all times. So what is Arjuna's doubt about this? How is this possible? How can you see friends and enemies in the same way at all times? For example, enemy is the core of our army situated on the other side. Friends are Yudhishthira, family members, and so on. How you can see equally at all times. This is his doubt. You may talk universal brotherhood, love. I love how these things people in modern social political landscape, people talk about we have to love and empathize with everyone. And all you have to say is, I disagree with you, and they coming after you. All of a sudden, I said, well, what happened to loving me also? I disagree with you. I have a different view. You should follow your philosophy and love me, and I'll follow my philosophy. Because you cannot artificially apply this. You have to be accomplished to have this sort of sense of universal brotherhood. You're my brother until you do something against me. Then I want you dead. Notice how that's just basically how that cookie crumbles. So Arjuna said, how is it possible to have this sort of equality in the mind? The mind is too fickle. Just like as soon as you are glorified, you feel like you love everybody. Isn't it? It's a quite extraordinary thing that happens when you receive glorification, and you feel very nice about that. So because that feeling of niceness pervades your whole mind, you see wherever you look, you feel like everyone's beautiful. Everything is so wonderful, actually. Because that mental state is pervading everywhere inside. So you feel like that. Oh, everything is wonderful. Wherever you look, you see beauty, and you have such a great day. Or like maybe someone that you were kind of flirting with is reciprocating on Facebook or something like that. And so when you go outside, you're just having a great day. Like nothing will get your day down. We only laugh because this experience has come up, I'm sure, a few times, if not. Appreciation circles. But I like this Facebook one. This is reality. Someone you were you're not gonna admit it, of course, because we're spiritual. But maybe you were flirting with someone and they reciprocate. So you feel very good. And then you're walking outside. It's like freezing outside. You're like, this is a great day, great weather. Everything feels like, because that mentality pervades in the mind. So you think it's very nice. Then the same person writes back to you, actually, I think you're crazy. I don't have anything to do with you. And then you become angry. This person is evil like this. Your mind switches immediately. So how I'm supposed to practice a system that requires the mind to be equal at all times? The mind is too fickle. How would it be possible to do such a thing? That is Arjuna's doubt. And then the next verse he mentions it, he elaborates on it a little bit. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna, very famous verse. Pramati balavadridam. Tasyaham nigraham manye vayor iva suduskanam. So chanchalam means fickle. Pramati means agitating. Balavad means like stubborn. So you'll have some philosophy that says everyone is soul. You should see universal brotherhood as soul. But the mind will pramati, it will agitate. Say, yeah, he's a soul, but he's this type of soul. He's an evil soul. He's a soul that is worthy of chastisement, worthy of my reproach. It will agitate, and it will agitate in terms of material duality or material conception. And you will try to get out of that, but it's balavad. Balavad means it is stubborn. It will not allow you to shake that idea. Just like someone, again, same example, someone criticizes you. So that itself invites you to identify with duality, and it agitates. You're like, no, it's just a soul. But it will agitate. And then you'll be trying like, just don't think about it. It's all Krishna's mercy. We have all these little mechanisms we use to tell ourselves to keep the mind peaceful. It's all Krishna's mercy. But the mind itself, and you're just like chanting japa, trying not to think about it. And then that person walks into the room and you're just like, you're just looking evil, watching him offer obeisances, him or her. The mind is very stubborn. It will not give up the idea. Or sometimes you No, I'm not going to give this example. It's the temple room. Sometimes your mind catches some bad impression of some object that's not good for you. You try to shake it off. I'm not going to think about that. I'm not going to think about that. And then all of a sudden, you just go into a daydream for like 5 minutes. Why? Because the mind is stubborn. It will not give up the idea. Just like, for example, we've heard so many classes that material sense gratification is problematic. Still, we do not believe it. We don't believe it because right after the class, we will go and try again. Every day is a new day after all. Tasyaham nigrahamanye vayor ibad sudushkanam. So he says, I think to subdue this mind, it would be easier to control the wind than to subdue the mind. So in the commentary, this is the last point I make here. The commentators make an interesting point. That generally the intelligence is supposed to be the controller of the mind. So they give this image of the chariot of the mind. So you have the senses are like compared to horses. The mind is compared to the reins. And the intelligence is compared to the driver. And the soul is the passenger and the chariot of the body. This image is given in part, but also close to purport. Do they have that painting here in this Bhagavad-Gita? Do you know?
I don't think so.
No, it's not here. Oh, really?
What's the painting up?
Say what?
What's the painting?
The chariot.
No, here it is. So you can see the soul here is looking mad scared. So you can't see it from that distance. If you see this
And then
picture.
the senses are all.
So the senses are like crazy Mustang-looking horses. So the mind is the reins, and this is the intelligence. So the intelligence is supposed to be the controller of the reins of the mind, which are supposed to control the senses. But what happens, so then they said, no, just steady your mind by intelligence, you can steady the mind. So then an example is given. It is just like medicine, when you administer medicine, but sometimes the disease is so strong that the disease overcomes the strength of the medicine. Right? Sometimes the medicine is taken, but the disease is very powerful. It overcomes the strength of the medicine. In the same way, although the intelligence is supposed to be the driver of the chariot, the mind creates such a turmoil internally that it overcomes the function of your knowledge and your discernment. Just like when you ever have the experience of falling in love, it's a terrible experience, actually. It is. It's an absolute terrible experience. Even when you can see clearly that it's not good for you or it is problematic, your whole body becomes agitated. And you cannot think of anything else. All you think is how you're in love and how it'd be so wonderful. Actually, your intelligence is saying, bro, this is a horrible idea. And it's giving you like 20 reasons why it's a bad idea. But then the mind will say, well, the heart wants what the heart wants. This nonsense. That's how powerful the mind is. Even the intelligence is providing you a list, 100 reasons why this is a bad idea. And it can give like this, 100 reasons. Very quickly also the intelligence may give. And the heart will just say, the heart wants what the heart wants. You're like, yeah, beautiful. So that is the power of the mind, that even your discernment becomes completely eclipsed by its functions. So this is Arjuna's doubt about this yoga system. How you will control such an entity like this? It's not even an entity. It's a material element. But how can I subdue it? It's a material element. So he says, I think to control wind, which is also an element, that would be much easier than controlling this mind. So Krishna will give a response to this. We'll take up the next passage on Monday and probably finish the chapter. How Krishna will answer this particular doubt. Huh?
Practice and detachment.
Yes, yes, he says, abhyasena tu konteya vairagena chakuyate, by practice and detachment. That's an interesting answer also. We'll go into that in more detail when we get there. Because to also do that requires a lot of sattva. And that's the problem that you have when you're getting attacked by the mind. You're lacking sattva. So how you will practice that? So that's an interesting answer that Krishna gives. So this is Arjuna's doubt for this yoga system. So we'll stop there. Any comments? I left the questions upstairs because I was running from outside here. I didn't have time to go upstairs and gather all my materials. Yes.
Well, my comment is simple. We are urged by Prabhupada, by the Acharyas always, chant, chant, chant. And we're also instructed, the name and the person named are the same because the person is absolute, the name is absolute.
Nice.
So you're always in the presence of Krishna, and that will help you
Yes.
because Krishna actually cares more than we do about our suffering and appreciates more than we do our suffering. And if we are actually sincere in our practice, then Krishna will.
Yes. That is the hope. So yes, Krishna is alive and well. He's a personality. So if you take refuge in him. So this is one of the reasons why Krishna speaks about these other yoga systems in the Gita. So they will be dismissed as ultimately useful. Only one thing will be accepted as useful, and that is to worship Krishna.
I was thinking that there's so much information about the mind, and so much there can be practically unlimited discussion. It's an ever-fresh topic of how beautiful our minds are to control, etc., etc. And sometimes I feel like it makes us like hyper-aware of our minds just from talking about it so much. And so I'm wondering, utilizing that knowledge in practical application in a way that detaches us from our minds. How we do that? Because like often we hear detachment from mind senses is the path to conquering them. So then, how to become detached from the mind when having to also be so aware of it?
Yeah, my answer to that would be, at least in a Bhakti Yoga system, being aware of the functions of the mind is not as important as being aware of Krishna. The real process is to put the mind on Krishna. Daiviyesha gunamayi mama maya dharatya. So Krishna says, "Is Maya, my Maya is Dharatyaya." So this mind is also part of Krishna's Maya. So it is Dharatyaya, means you will not be able to conquer over it. It is insurmountable. Mameva ye prapadyante, but one who finds refuge in me, then they can conquer over it. So our system is, especially about the yoga system, is actually to put the mind on Krishna. And even in this yoga system, it is to put the mind on the object of meditation, which also Vishnu is the one that is mostly promoted in that system as well. So that is our real system. The reason for knowing about the various, I don't think there's a lot of discussion like in the Gita, but the value of knowing about how the mind functions in this way is so that when it starts giving excuses, you understand what's happening. Because that is where that knowledge becomes useful. Of course, it's usually not useful for us in the moment it's happening. But if we're consulting someone who's, or like, let's say, a guide or a mentor or something, then they can refer to that point which you also already know about but are not able to access it because of the mind's attachment. That's the very interesting thing about how knowledge works. That when you're attached, knowledge is obscured from your awareness. And it's very interesting when someone comes to you for advice. I've mentioned this before. When someone comes to you for advice, and sometimes you feel like you just give like amazing advice, isn't it? Like, I gave like some really good advice, like, because you're a little detached from your situation. So it allows you a certain objectivity that allows you to just give good advice. But when you're in a similar situation, that's all of a sudden, it's like, where's that knowledge at now? It doesn't, because the way attachment works. So by knowing all these different functions of the mind, you'll not be able to access that knowledge so much when the mind is functioning in attachment. But if someone's coming at you, a well-wisher, and he will say something, it will like trigger awareness of these different points. You don't have to like go into great detail. And if you trust such a person, then you can dismiss it and then place the mind back on what you're supposed to place it on, Krishna. So of course, devotees nowadays is quite popular. Psychology, different psychological things are being kind of promoted in our movement. And it's becoming more and more popular to give a lot of importance to that. But as far as the process we hear articulated in the scriptures, they don't give so much importance about like getting into your anarthas too much. After all, the anarthas is an ocean. So ocean means like there is ocean means like, you know, it's deep, it's broad, it's how much you want to get. You can go get into that for your whole life. There's plenty of anarthas to go around for lifetimes. So I don't see so much emphasis in our literatures on like analyzing anarthas too much. Like in the Madhurya Kandambini, Sri Vishwanath is given general categories of things, how to recognize, and they wrap up the discussion. You know, it's not like a long run out like look into this thing in that little angle and sit there and meditate on this fall or that fall. Usually they say you should just do bhajan because our process is supposed to be anartha nivritti, not anartha meditation. We're supposed to be getting rid of the anarthas. So.
No, I just, yeah, because, you know, it's like you're meditating on your anarthas and you're still doing it anyway.
Right.
Because you don't have a higher taste. So you can do so many mental gymnastics about how you shouldn't do this and do that. But until you've got the higher taste, then you're going to do it anyways.
Yes.
I want to say something. You know, I work with some people in Kansas, and they probably would have benefited if I did more of this emphasis of things that they actually already know, which is how the mind betrays you, deceives you, disappoints you, etc., misguides you, gets you in trouble. Because I kept emphasizing, you know, I put it that the theistic school, you're not working on your own. You have help. And you can be assured of victory in your struggle because the one who's helping you is Almighty.
Yeah.
That message there were very few people in my audience who were truly susceptible to that. They were distrustful of the whole idea of deity. So the idea of showing how treacherous the mind can be and then recognize, like the examples you're giving,
that is okay for a secular audience, but for a devotee audience, the direction is to put the mind on Krishna. That's the problem. We don't want to think of Krishna. I always find it interesting. We go to, like, let's say some learned devotee, some sannyasi, we're having some problem in life. So we say, can you help me? And they say, chant Hare Krishna, and we feel disgusted. Because we think, I could have thought of that myself. Yeah, but you didn't. That's the point. You didn't think of it. You're thinking of all these other things, but you didn't think of this point, that you should remember Krishna. Just like the story is told of Christopher Columbus. You know, he was selling, this famous story is told, he was selling. And everyone wanted to know why you were the captain. We want to be the captain. So he said, whoever can make this boiled egg stand up straight, then you can be the captain. So everyone was trying to make the boiled egg stand straight, but it wasn't standing straight. So then Christopher Columbus said, I can do it. So everyone would go, okay, let's see. So he took one knife, he cut it in half, and then he put it. He said, it's standing straight. And then they said, we could have did that. He said, I know, but I did it. That's why I'm the captain. So in the same way, you come with some problem to some sannyasi, and all the problem is just happening in the mind. It is not happening anywhere else in the final analysis. It is happening in the mind. So you come with some problem. And they say, chant Hare Krishna. You say, I could have thought that, but you did it. That's why I'm here to remind you. That's what a friendship is for.
Yeah, it's really relevant. And it's also attached to your practice.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times I'll go in front of Robin. But I can feel in my heart that it's not sincere because I'm attached to it.
I don't want to give up.
I'm still holding on to it. And I'm like, okay, make some, hoping Krishna will make some nice situation. I can switch it from this to this one without too much pain. But it's not sincere. So Krishna's like, all right, I can't help you. So it's also that, attachment to our habits too. So we're always meditating because I think I might have brought this up before, but I was reading something really interesting how the frustration at not having a material desire satisfied is not only the frustration of, that we trying to satisfy our desires and we're not being completely satisfied in our expectations. But it's also when you're trying to abstain, but you're still having the desire. That's also a kind of frustration. Where you're not doing it, but you're meditating and all the time you're suffering, trying to be a good devotee. So being attached to our anarthas also creates a problem because then that is a meditation.
Yeah.
Kama isha, kama not just in the broader desire kind of sense. Leads to
contemplation.
Dhyato Vishayam Pumsam Sangasta Shubhajayato. The whole path towards destruction begins with contemplation. That's a very scary thought when you think about it. Because you think about all the stuff we contemplate.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. Yeah, I was like,
This is one thing. This is a little bit of a side point, but because I've been talking to a lot of men, particularly about the porn issue, as many of you know, and I've been thinking about this, but so many of us have had our minds molested at a very young age, in the sense that the average age is 11, 12 for kids get into these things today, and it's like really dark stuff that they're getting into from a very young age, and so the mind is practically molested from that time. So after you 5-10 years, let's say minimum, indulging in this, then you become a devotee. But your mind has been thoroughly molested by the time you become a devotee. And so I was thinking that this is really the crime. That now you're trying to be a devotee, but you have all these dark samskaras that are going. So you may not indulge again, but then you go to take sleep, they appear in the dream. You go to chant japa, some images are coming. And this way your mind is thoroughly, it's going to take some time to repair. It's like almost like broken, And when you, as a devotee, if you come to realize that, it can be very like distressful. My mind is, and we know that from there, that's where the whole system.
Like hearing it in Bhagavad class. Your mind is a rascal.
Yeah.
You have so many material desires.
So, but there's all hope. That is the Vaishnavas have brought the good message of Krishna consciousness to us.
And the holy name is all.
So you think of Krishna. That is the advice. And if you do that, and that is why good sangha is required. They will help you to think of Krishna. And there's all hope. Otherwise, no hope. Helpless and hopeless. But if you associate with Vaishnava and you chant holy names, you hear Srimad Bhagavatam, worship the deity, then all hope is there. All hope.
we're trying to corral the horses. It's channel them.
Come on, go this way. Come on, man, go this way. Come on.
Trying to hang with
I like the thing you're saying last Monday about,
Yeah.
you first understood the instruction